Hello guys, this is your friend Multiverse Shinobi 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto was touched by the path of the snake and fell in love with Tayuya Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Stay away. A blonde boy was running down a back alley of Konoha. He was bleeding, tired, scared, and confused. It was like this every year. On the anniversary of the day the fourth killed the nine tails, the villagers would get especially hateful of him. He thought that after a year at the ninja academy things would be different. He thought that the people would start to hate him less if he became a shinobi. He was wrong. It was like every year, only now when he had dared to show his face, a mob had formed around the frightened 7-year-old. They had chased him for several blocks already before cornering him. He had seen several Chunin ninjas, but they had done nothing to help him. As the mob closed in, they started to yell vicious curses at him, things like, "You killed the fourth, you demon. How dare you show your face on this day? The third should have killed you already, we've got to do it before he kills us all." The boy was scared of their anger, he had never seen it like this before. When one man ran out of the crowd, Naruto cringed. The kick had caught him in the chest and sent him flying into the back wall of the alley. It was harder to breathe now and blood was dripping from his lips. He tried to move, but a sharp pain in his ribs kept him down. He could only look on in horror as the mob started to move on him, emboldened by their leaders' actions. "Well, another year, another exam," said a silver-haired teenager as he walked the streets of Konoha. It had been less than 2 weeks since he failed another Chunin exam, and it was getting harder to get teammates to take it with him. "It's this village, they are all cowards. I hope my information is being helpful to him." He heard a loud crash and whipped around, old ninja habits kicking in. He peered into an alley across the street from him. There was a crowd of people blocking the way so he couldn't see what was going on, but he heard muffled cries coming from in front of the mob. Not my problem." He started to walk off when he felt a wave of killing intent flush over the area. Not enough to alert any Anbu that weren't already around, but enough to make a talented ninja like Yakushi Kabuto take a step back. The mob seemed to notice it as well and several of them ran off screaming about a demon. "Oh, so that's it. This is the day the fourth died to kill the demon. They must be taking it out on the Jinchuriki and now it's biting back. Damn fools, if they really thought the Kyuubi no Kitsune was in control, why would they be so stupid as to attack him in the first place? What else would they expect from a demon other to kill them if it was attacked? Oh well, this could prove useful." He headed up onto a nearby rooftop to get a good view of the coming carnage. He fully expected the Jinchuriki to simply snap and kill them all in a few moments and was going to be sure he didn't miss it. Orochimaru-sama will be pleased to have information on the Kyuubi's vessel, especially in regards to compatibility. Kabuto winced as he watched the boy take hit after hit from the people who did not run in fear from the initial wave of power. He noted that it had since disappeared completely from his senses. The boy was in bad shape. He had at least 2 broken ribs, a fractured arm, a broken nose, and his eye was black. What is he doing? He should at least be fighting back even if he can't fully use the demon's chakra. Kabuto's eyes narrowed when he saw one man pull out a knife. He summoned his charka scalpels and leapt down from his rooftop perch, a perfect landing between the young blonde and the mob. "Who are you?" the man with the knife said. He saw the leaf hit the boy was wearing. No way he wanted to mess with a trained ninja. Kabuto pushed his round glasses further up his face before turning to look at the boy. He was alive, but barely. The blonde's blue eyes met Kabuto's and he saw the confusion and desperation written on the young boy's face. He smiled weakly before turning back to the mob. "I am Yakushi Kabuto, a ninja of this village. I order you to disperse before I have to enlist the aid of the Anbu to solve this mob violence." His empty threat had the desired effect as he watched the people mutter angrily but move on. Once he was sure they were gone, he looked the boy over. "Hey, can you still hear me?" He felt the boy's neck for a pulse. It was weak, but it present. He watched in awe as the lighter wounds healed up on the boy, but the larger ones were a problem. So, this is also a power of the Jinchuriki, he could prove very useful. Single quote. Kabuto started making hand seals for a healing jutsu. He put his glowing hands on the chest of the blonde to mend the broken ribs. After the boy's breathing became more stable, he started on his arm. Several minutes later, the blonde was sitting upright as Kabuto finally fixed the last thing wrong with the boy. Kabuto slumped back on the ground winded. It took a lot out of him to use a healing jutsu on so many injuries. The boy looked away for a few moments before turning sad eyes towards the spy. Thanks for helping me, he said in a quiet voice. I mean, if you hadn't have been here, I would have. He stopped as Kabuto held up his hand and waved the boy's thanks off. No need to thank me, it's my job. Now, what were those people doing chasing you like that? Of course Kabuto knew why they were chasing him, but he wanted the boy to trust him so he could initiate the next part of his plan. When the blonde became depressed, Kabuto decided it would be best to try and take his mind off of it so he would open up by himself. Well, after all that running you must be hungry, how about I buy you lunch? Oh, I'm Kabuto by the way. He smirked when the blonde boy jumped at the chance of a free meal. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, the boy replied, and yeah, let's go get some ramen. The boy said enthusiastically as he dragged the silver-haired genin after him. Ha, this is all too easy. The place the boy had wanted to go was too open for what Kabuto had to discuss, so he chose a more private shop with booths. The owners gave Naruto a hard look before the silver-haired genin stepped in and ordered them to take them to a seat. It was good to be a ninja. So, Naruto, how are things in school? I remember when I was there and it hadn't been easy. Kabuto asked between slurps of ramen. The boy was putting it away faster than Kabuto could count the bowls and briefly wondered if the boy was using some sort of ramen eating jutsu. Ha, like school is helping me any. Sakura-chan won't even talk to me without calling me names and no one takes me seriously, it's all about Sasuke-tem. Naruto said, scowling. Ah, the Uchiha survivor. Orochimaru-sama has been interested about him from the reports I've sent. Maybe I can use this little rivalry to my advantage. So the teachers are ignoring you, then. Naruto stopped eating and sank in his seat. Yeah, just like the people in town. None of them care about me, but this is the first time I've ever been attacked this bad before, and on my birthday too. He said as he poked his bowl with a pair of chopsticks. Kabuto smiled inwardly, this was going perfectly. Oh, your birthday, Maybe I should get you something. He pretended to look up at the ceiling as if he was thinking. He noted the expectant, if not jovial, expression on the boy's face and decided he'd move in for the kill. Well, I could tell you that, but no, you wouldn't want to do that. He said as he shook his head. Naruto looked like he was about to jump out of his seat. Hey, I'll take it. Whatever it is, I'll take it. Kabuto's eyes twinkled. All too easy. Well, I could tell you about a place where you could get actual ninja training without having to bother with teachers who would ignore you. It would require you to leave Konoha though, most likely you'd never see this town again. Naruto was shocked. Become an actual ninja with teachers that would help. A dream come true. But, what about my friends? He thought back to the few happy moments he had with the other kids in the academy. The few times he would see Sakura smile at him, or Sasuke laugh at a joke were too scarce and far between. Most of the time it was, Naruto baka, stop messing with Sasuke-kun. Or, you'll never catch up to me, Dobi. His mind was made up then and there. Tell me more, he said as he leaned across the table to listen to the smiling Kabuto. Game, set, and match Konoha. Too bad you didn't use your valuable resource when you had the chance. The silver-haired spy thought as he told an eager Naruto about a certain powerful Sannin. Are we there yet? No. When will we get there? Soon. How strong is this Orochi guy again? It's Orochimaru, and he's very strong. It has been like this ever since the pair has left Konoha. The silver-haired genin had managed to smuggle the blonde out of the village without anyone catching on, not like anyone would notice right away anyway. Now traveling past the border of Fire Country, they would arrive at the temporary base of Orochimaru within a day, if a certain blonde would keep his mouth shut and just concentrate on moving quickly. So, where is this place again and why are we moving so fast? Naruto asked as they leapt from tree to tree. At first, Naruto couldn't get the hang of it until Kabuto explained the basic method of using one's chakra to stick to things. It was the first time anyone had truly tried to teach the boy something and he did his best to learn it, which he did after a few days of falling out of trees. It was a good thing the boy was traveling with a medic nin because at the rate he was going, he would have bled to death by the time he was 1 mile outside of the village. Kabuto sighed at the blonde's question. I told you, it's in Rain Country. We're moving so fast because we don't want to run into any portals and I have to get back to Konoha as soon as possible. I have other work to do, you know. Kabuto explained as he stopped on another tree branch to let the boy catch up. One purple blur later, they started to move again. Ah, purple. That was the first thing Kabuto had taught the boy. If he wanted to be a ninja, his obsession with orange would have to go. After much arguing in a ninja clothing store, they settled on black pants, like Kabuto's, a dark red shirt, so Naruto could wear a little color, and a dark purple cloak that went down to his ankles and covered his entire body except his head. The boy seemed to like it as he never took the thing off. Oh, that's right, you're a spy. Kabuto had decided to tell the boy he was working for Orochimaru once they were out of the city. Naruto still wasn't too keen on the idea that someone was spying on his former home. Well, yes, but that is also part of being a ninja, you know. If it's any consolation, Konoha has spies in other countries itself, so they are no better if you're holding that against me. Remember though, since you came with me you no longer have any ties to that place, one day you might even have to fight the people there, I hope you can deal with that. The genin said as he leapt down from the trees. They were finally on the border of Rain Country. From here, they would have to walk to a town called Kosame where they would meet up with Orochimaru and the rest of his group. Now, we'll be there in a day so I want to make some things clear. Naruto stopped to look at the older boy. His face was stern and left no room for Naruto to argue. When we get there, you will address Lord Orochimaru as Orochimaru-sama. I know how you like your nicknames, so let me tell you now that Orochimaru would kill you over most of them. Another thing, you will have to go through some tests to check some things. They might hurt, but they will not kill you, so don't complain. Also, he trailed off. His senses were picking up something closing in on them. He wheeled around in the direction it was coming. It was a single chakra source moving in on them quickly. Damn it, Naruto, prepare to defend yourself. Kabuto shouted as he summoned his chakra scalpels. Naruto hurriedly pulled out a kunai from his pouch but kept his hands under his cloak so the enemy wouldn't see what he was doing. It was one of the assassination lessons Kabuto had taught him since they left. Suddenly, there was a flash of swirling water 20 feet in front of them and a man wearing a rain hitai grinning at them. Kabuto brought his chakra-covered hands up in a neutral stance. And what do we have here? What is your business in Rain Country? Asked the ninja. Kabuto looked the man over. He was large and powerful with a set of tonfa he was grasping tightly. Kabuto shifted his eyes over to Naruto. The boy was obviously nervous, but still managed to hold his ground. He was relieved that he had taken off his own hitai as Hidden Rain and Hidden Leaf are not on the best of terms at the moment. I'm and Lordless Chunin traveling with my genin apprentice. We are trying to meet up with the rest of our group in Kosame. Now, if you would kindly get out of our way. Kabuto let the sentence end. He wasn't too sure what the man had in mind, but he was not about to let his guard down. Ah, so that's it. Well, I don't care about your business in Rain, because I'm a missing nin myself. The man said as he whirled his tonfa around. But as such, I do have to make a living and you two must have some money on you, I'm going to relieve you of it. Kabuto smirked. So, a former ninja became a bandit, how noble. No, I don't think we'll give you anything, and if you value your life, you'll leave. Trash like you shouldn't threaten your betters, Kabuto said as he flared his chakra. The man snarled and launched himself at the silver-haired boy. Naruto could only watch in awe as the two nins began their dance of death, each putting their very survival into the battle. The missing nin's tonfa spun out and tried to crush Kabuto's skull when the man saw an opening, but the medic nin twisted his body in ways the blonde boy wouldn't have thought possible. Kabuto seemed to be running out of steam, however, as a tonfa finally caught him in the arm, sending him to his knees from the shock. The missing nin tired to follow up with his other weapon, but before he could bring it down he found Kabuto's hand on his chest. Goodbye, Kabuto said before he sent his chakra scalpel into the man, cutting into his chest with surgical precision. The man just stood there shaking for a moment before bursting into a puddle of water, much to the shock of Naruto and Kabuto. Mizu Bunshin. Kabuto didn't have time to react as a tonfa was plowed into the side of his head from behind. His body spun in the air before crashing into a nearby tree with a thud. He could only sit up with the tree's support as the missing nin loomed over him, tonfa raised. Too bad, shouldn't have shot your mouth off, you damned brat, he said as he brought the tonfa down. Kabuto could only weakly raise his hands in a token effort at defense. So, this is it. My ambition ends here. He heard the sound of blood dripping on the ground, bringing him back to reality. He looked up. The man had stopped mid-swing, his face in anguish, his free hand digging at his side. Kabuto looked at the man's side and saw a kunai lodged deeply into his flesh. Further over he saw a shaking Naruto with his arm still stretched out from the throw. Kabuto didn't need another minute to react. He summoned every ounce of strength he had and jammed his hands over the man's heart, ending his life with 5 chakra scalpels that eviscerated every artery in his chest. The missing nin coughed up blood then fell backwards as Naruto fell to his knees shaking. Kabuto braced himself with the tree and started to heal his worst wounds with a medical jutsu. Afterwards, he walked over to the man and pulled the kunai out of his lifeless body, tossing it at Naruto's feet. Let's keep moving, he said with a calm voice that made Naruto's blood turn to ice. He nodded and stood on shaky legs, grabbing the bloody kunai before following the silver-haired spy. So, that was the first time you helped kill someone, right? Kabuto asked as he and Naruto walked into the small town of Kosame. They had just arrived at twilight and were going to find a place to rest for the night. Kabuto decided it was best to deal with the boy's problems with killing before he met Orochimaru. Something like that, if you weren't used to it, would probably break the boy. When Naruto didn't answer, Kabuto continued, in our line of work, you can't help things not coming to that. I gave him a chance to leave, but he didn't, thus he died. You will have to make those kinds of decisions in the future if you ever want to be a shinobi, you know. With power comes obligation. You will definitely have missions where you will have to kill people you've never even met before, and you won't always have the luxury of them being as bad as the guy you helped kill back there. If you can't deal with that, you can't be a shinobi. Do you understand, Naruto? Kabuto watched the boy take a deep breath and nod after a few minutes of reflection. That would be enough for now. Okay, shall we find a place to stay, then? I take you to meet Orochimaru-sama tomorrow and he'll begin your training, if he finds you acceptable, that is. Kabuto knew the snake Sannin would be ecstatic to have the Jinchuriki in his force, but he didn't want the boy to get a big ego. There were some children under Orochimaru that were Naruto's age that could even beat him. Kabuto-san. Naruto started up. What will my purpose be when I'm a ninja? I have no village to protect or goal. I can't go back and be the Hokage of the village now that I've left. Kabuto nodded thoughtfully. So, it's beginning to set in, Guess he is growing up some. Well, not everything important is based around a village, Naruto. Right now you might not have anything to protect, but one day you will acquire something worth betting your life for. When you do, you'll find your ninja way. Whether that thing is a person, place, ideal, it doesn't matter. You'll get your inspiration. Just like my ambition gives me strength. Thanks Kabuto-san. Both stood in the street for a moment before Naruto broke the silence with his usual boasts. Well, after kicking that missing ninja, I want something to eat. Since I had to save you, you're buying. Declared the blonde as he headed towards the nearest ramen stand. Kabuto rolled his eyes as he followed the young boy for a night of eating a ramen banquet the boy was famous for ordering. Kai! Kabuto yelled as he held the cancel seal. It was early morning when the two departed the town to travel deep into the forests outside of Kosame. After a few hours of travel, they arrived at a large woodland spring with huge trees growing all around. They were seemingly older than time itself as they stood majestically over the large pools of water like massive sentinels, their massive roots plunging into the depths. It seemed normal enough when Kabuto said that they were here, but when Naruto said he didn't see anything, Kabuto informed him that a massive genjutsu was put in place to hide the complex. As Kabuto cancelled part of the jutsu, the picture in front of Naruto's eyes wavered for a few moments and a window opened. What he saw as they both walked through was a complete shock. Wow, that was here the whole time? Naruto asked as he took in the place. There were numerous planks that were built into the massive trees with buildings on them. Rope bridges connected the different trees and lights were flickering around the place. Kabuto led him over to a rope ladder and motioned for him to climb up. Further and further they went until they reached the central planked area that used the fork of two massive limbs to stay stable. Several people were engaged in training on the plank structure, but they all stopped to look at Kabuto and Naruto. A man in flowing white robes held his hand up to the ninja who had their hands on their kunai pouches. He slowly walked up to the two. He was older than Kabuto, but not by much. His white hair and clothing matched his pale skin. Naruto could just make out a pinwheel symbol on his chest and wondered what it was for. Ah, Kabuto-san, I don't believe we were expecting you back so soon, especially with. He turned to look down at Naruto with cold eyes. Company. What is the meaning of this? Something of vital importance to Orochimaru-sama. Please tell him I would like an audience with him and that I bring someone I think he should meet. Kabuto said, locking eyes with the man. Of course. Please stay here while I go inform him. The man said as he walked off towards a building at the back of the planked area. It was one story with two smaller buildings on either side. Twin snake symbols were on either side of the door. Naruto tried not to look nervous, but that was all but impossible since every person that was formally training was now looking at him. He noticed several children his own age off at the back talking to one another. There are other kids here. Maybe I won't be so lonely after all. After a few minutes, the man in white came back out and walked over to Naruto and Kabuto. Orochimaru-sama will see you know. He said and then went back over to the group of children. Scary. Naruto said as he and Kabuto made their way over to the building. Better get used to it, he's one of the highest ranked ninja here. You'll be associated with him the rest of your life. Or until he keels over from his family's genetic disease. Kabuto opened the door of the main building and walked into a dimly lit room. Naruto couldn't make out much, but there seemed to be a chair in the middle with a person sitting in it. Kabuto, what is so important that you jeopardized your mission to show me? And who is this boy? The man asked as he leaned forward in his chair. He is Uzumaki Naruto, Orochimaru-sama. He came here by his own will to serve you and receive training. Kabuto said as he bowed deeply to the man. So, this is the Jinchuriki. He seems weak. The man said as he leaned back to a normal sitting position. Weak. Well yeah, that's why I'm here. I don't want to be weak anymore. Train me, old man. Naruto shouted. Kabuto paled and gagged for a moment before glaring at Naruto. The man in the chair sat still for a moment before breaking out into a subtle chuckle. Kukuku. You certainly inherited her temper, didn't you? The was suddenly filled with light from two torches on either side of the room. Startled for a moment, Naruto looked up into the face of the man in the chair. His eyes were slanted like a snake's and he had a very angular face. He was wearing the same outfit as the man from outside, only it seemed more formal. He seemed to be in his mid-40s, but no part of him showed he was old. I like this one. He has spirit. Ninitsugi, take him to the medical ward and get him prepped for surgery. Orochimaru noticed the scared look on the boy's face and laughed his strange laugh again. Don't worry, I am giving you a special gift for pledging your loyalty to me. That is what you want to do, right? Hi, Orochimaru-sama. Naruto said as a previously unseen ninja appeared behind him. The ninja, who Naruto guessed was Ninitsugi, opened a door off to the side of the room and waited for Naruto. The blonde bowed once to Orochimaru and headed off with the other man. Once they were both out of the room, Kabuto spoke up. Orochimaru-sama, what gift are you planning on giving him? He is rather young for. Orochimaru held up his hand. I know he is too young for a cursed seal and I cannot use his body because of the 9 tails. I think though, he will make an excellent piece in my game. I see he has much potential. The snake Sanin then rose from his seat and moved to follow the other two towards the medical complex. We have a boy with a unique gift. It is within my power to transfer that gift to Naruto-kun. I think it will serve him, and me, better than it would that fool Zaku, don't you? Hi, Orochimaru-sama. Kabuto motioned for another ninja to go and retrieve Zaku. Of course, he'll have to die for you to be able to transfer that power. Kabuto said as he followed Orochimaru. Yes, but pawns are made to guard better pieces. Kuku. Right, Kabuto. Hi, Orochimaru, I think you will find that even a pawn can beat a king if used correctly. The two continued to walk down the corridor as a scream sounded from further down the hall. So, it seems the pawn has been sacrificed for our knight. Yes. Orochimaru walked into the lab area where a now unconscious Naruto was strapped to a large table. A corpse of a boy with spiky black hair was also laying on another table across from him. Orochimaru chuckled as he examined the dead boy's hands. He felt along the length of the arm and stopped at his palm. There was a red stone set into it, just like his other arm. Now, Naruto-kun, here is my gift to you, a taste of the power I can provide. He said to the unconscious blonde as the Sanin started making hand seals. Use the Kuki Taiho, and grow strong. As the room whited out due to the jutsu, Kabuto smiled. Yes, Naruto, you must grow strong indeed. What the hell happened to me? Naruto groggily sat up. Wherever he was, it was dark and he was unable to see. He seemed to be in a bed of some sort, because whatever he was sitting on was soft. He tried to rub his eyes but found his arms were throbbing in pain whenever he would try to move them. In fact, most of his body would hurt when he would try to move. He gave up trying to figure out where he was for the time being and slumped back down into the bed. Man, my arms feel weird, like part of them is hollow. Naruto again tried to move them only to have the sharp pain return. Damn it, that hurts. He shouted. Hey, will you be quiet? Some of us need sleep. Came a voice from the darkness. It was groggy and irritated, but it was someone to talk to. Hey, sorry. Didn't think anyone else was in here with me. Naruto answered. He was still trying to pinpoint where the voice came from. Both of ya, shut the hell up. A different voice called out. The first voice ignored the second and continued talking. Well, there is, and we're trying to sleep. You shouldn't even be awake yet anyway. Orochimaru-sama said you'd be out for a few days. The voice said, now more awake. Naruto heard the shuffling of blankets near the other voice, followed by what sounded like metal hitting someone's head, followed by something falling back into a bed with a loud thud. That should shut your mouth for the night, you damned idiot. A female voice muttered. And unless you want your head to meet metal, I suggest you shut the hell up as well. The girl said before Naruto heard her get back into her bed. From several points around the room he heard chuckles, but a growl from where the girl was sleeping silenced them as well. Wow, scary. Deciding it was best to lose consciousness under his own power, the blonde boy tried to ignore the strange feeling in his arms and drift off to sleep. Look at Sasuke-kun. He did a perfect henge no jutsu. Exclaimed the pink-haired girl. Yeah, Sasuke-kun is great. He's so amazing, said a blonde-haired girl as she glomped onto his arm. The pink-haired narrowed her eyes and tried to pry the blonde off of the annoyed Uchiha. It was the first jutsu Iruka had taught his class. As expected, the Uchiha genius performed it perfectly on the first attempt. The little blonde boy had not done as well. His henge of the third Hokage was deformed and would never fool even a villager, let alone a ninja. Iruka sighed as he watched the blonde walk over and stand by the black-haired genius while the two leaders of the Sasuke fan club fought it out. Wow, Sasuke, you sure are lucky, the boy said. The other boy looked over at him annoyed. Why's that, Dobi? He asked. The blonde ignored the insult as he looked at one half of the cat fight. Sakura-chan really likes you. I wish she liked me as much as you, the boy said, sadly. I really couldn't care less about her. The blonde stared at the Uchiha wide-eyed. Sasuke saw the confusion in his face and shrugged. What? I don't have time for anything like that. She's just like the others, so annoying. The little blonde boy started shaking in anger. Or what, Dobi? If you like that annoying girl so much, why not say something? You two would be perfect for each other, both of you are so weak. He didn't get a chance to say anything more as a fist flew at his face. Dodging to the side, he dropped into a defensive stance. The blonde was about to charge when a fist from behind floored him. Looking up from the ground, the blonde stared wide-eyed at the pink-haired student looming over him. Stop bothering Sasuke-kun, she yelled, waving a fist at him. But Sakura-chan, he started. She frowned at him and put her hands on her hips. I don't want to hear it, Naruto. You're lucky Sasuke-kun is so nice or he might have really hurt you. You're always picking fights with him for no reason, you're so annoying. She huffed, skipping over to Sasuke and grabbing his arm. The Uchiha only snorted in disgust. The slightly bruised blonde girl from before started arguing with the pink-haired girl again with Sasuke in the middle. Naruto watched from the ground as they both stared to fight again over the black-haired boy. 5 more minutes. The blonde boy rolled over in his bed. Light streamed into the room and the gleam played on his face, teasing his eyes open. After a long yawn, the boy sat up. The pain he felt last night was slightly less this morning and he found he could actually move his arms. He tensed a fist and cracked his knuckles. Feeling somewhat better, he fell back into the soft pillow remembering his dream. Sakura. Hey, time to get up, said the same voice from last night. Naruto shifted his eyes over to where the voice came from. He blinked a few times and rubbed his eyes. What the hell? The young boy standing off to the side was about his age, shoulder-length black hair, and 6 arms. The boy noticed the stare he was getting and smirked. He raised one of his arms and scratched the back of his neck. Yeah, I'm Kidomaru. About the arms. I'm from the Kumo clan and we all look like this. Well, we all used to look like this. The boy grew sad for a moment and Naruto realized he hit a sore spot. That's okay. I was just surprised, that's all. I bet it's useful having all those extra hands, you can eat ramen faster. By the way, I'm Naruto. Naruto said with a smile. The other boy perked up a bit and smiled. So, where am I and why do I feel like I got hit by an angry fangirl? Last thing I remember was that big guy, Ninitsugi, knocked me out. Naruto said as he rubbed his head. He was happy to find no mark of the incident. The spider boy grinned. Yeah, Orochimaru-sama gave you a gift. Check out your hands, he exclaimed gesturing to one of his palms. Naruto lifted his hand and did a double take at his palm. There was a small red stone set into the middle with his skin growing around it. His other hand had an identical stone. I guess these stones have something to do with it, huh? My arm also feels weird, like there is something new in there. He felt along the length of his arm. Something was added that started right below his elbow and ended behind the stone. Don't worry about it right now. Kimimaro-sensei will explain it all once we see him. Right now, I'm supposed to show you around. Kidomaru said as he walked over to the door. I'll be right outside. Once you get dressed, we'll get some breakfast. With that, he shut the door behind him, leaving Naruto to his own devices. Wow, I wonder what kinda gift this is. Naruto wondered as he got up. He was wearing a white hospital gown. A set of white robes were folded up at the foot of his bed. Aw man, I hate wearing robes. He noticed his cloak was also folded up, so he put on the robes with the cloak over it. Satisfied with his look, he walked out of the room into a long hall. Ready to eat? Asked Kidomaru as he saw Naruto walk out of the room. A loud growling of his companion's stomach was all the answer he needed, and they both set off in the direction of the cafeteria. Think you got enough food? Asked Kidomaru. The chef on duty had almost burst into tears as his blonde friend had stacked food onto his plate. He settled on a simple bowl of rice. Naruto only smiled as he looked the place over. It really wasn't what he was expecting. The cafeteria was built on one of the massive planks that constituted the complex. It was outdoors, which suited Naruto just fine. The breeze felt calming, swishing through the leaves. The two settled on a table and sat down to eat, Naruto's table manners showing themselves once again. So, when am I going to start training? The blonde said between mouthfuls. Today, hopefully. Orochimaru-sama wants to see you once I get done with the tour, then you meet up with the rest of the kids for basic training. You'll also be learning how to use that new gift you have. The spider boy answered. So, I'm in the same class as you are. How about those other kids I saw yesterday? Naruto asked. He remembered Kidomaru talking with another group of children the day he came with Kabuto. Yeah, same class as me. The others are all in the same class as you, too. Kidomaru said as he finished up his rice. He was shocked when he saw Naruto get done about the same time as he did. Where the heck does he put it all? Ready for the rest of the tour. The blonde nodded and got up to follow the spider boy as they made their way around the compound. Well, my work here is done. I've shown you just about everything. Kidomaru said as he and Naruto stood in front of the doors that led to Orochimaru's audience chamber. Naruto nodded. He and Kidomaru had seen just about everything the place had to offer. The watchtower, the training dojo, the dorm room he had woken up in, even the recreational area which constituted a giant library. Okay, Orochimaru-sama wants to see you. After the meeting you come to the dojo for class. It starts in an hour, so don't be late unless he keeps you. With a quick nod from Naruto, Kidomaru headed back down to the dojo to get some pre-class practice. Naruto steeled himself and knocked on the large door. Enter. Came the reply from within. Naruto gulped and pulled the door open. The room was as dark as ever, but the candles were burning so he could see what he was looking at. The Sannin was sitting on his throne looking over official-looking papers. He noticed Naruto and put the stack away. Ah, Naruto. I trust your tour with Kidomaru-kun went well. Naruto nodded. Good, good. I take it you must have some questions. Firstly, about your new gifts. It is a present from me for joining up. It's called the Kuki Taiho, or air cannon. It's a special weapon you'll have for the rest of your life. It's really a blood limit that you can now pass down to your children. I'll have your teacher teach you what it's for and such, but I will tell you that it's a way to control sound waves and air pressure. It's really quite useful. Naruto smiled. This is what he had come for. The means to become a strong ninja. Now, I have something important to discuss with you. I have decided that you will have to change your family name to avoid anyone from Konoha finding you. I'll also have to change your look slightly. That blonde hair is a dead giveaway that you're Uzumaki Naruto. The Sannin rose from his seat and walked over to Naruto. Doing a complex set of hand seals, he touched the boy's forehead. Naruto felt weird for a minute and watched in awe as a stray strand of blonde hair turned white. The Sannin walked back to his chair and sat down, smirking in a way only he could. A simple jutsu ninja used for long-term spy missions, was the Sannin's reply. Now that that is taken care of, time for your new name. Orochimaru thought for a moment before chuckling. You are From now on, Tarajiku Naruto. You understand, Naruto-kun? The Sannin asked. Naruto nodded, still trying to take in so many changes at once. Good. Now get to class, today you start your new life. After Naruto had left, a familiar silver-haired medic nin came from the shadows. Tarajiku Naruto, where did that come from, Orochimaru-sama? Kabuto asked. Kukuku, it's the child's real name. That old fool the third gave him the name, Uzumaki. Lucky for him I knew his parents and thus his real name. Now Kabuto, go back to Konoha and continue your mission. Hi, Orochimaru-sama, said the medic nin as he disappeared in a cloud of smoke, leaving a laughing snake Sannin to continue with his utterly evil paperwork. Ah, finally found the place again, Naruto said as he slid open the door to the dojo. He had forgotten where classes were being held until a helpful ninja pointed out the way. A lot nicer than those jerks back home. When he entered, he noticed that there weren't many children at all, only the few he had seen the day he arrived. The sound of a fight brought his attention to the front of the dojo. The white-haired man from the other day, whom Kidomaru had told him was their teacher, Kimimaro, was sparring with a large boy with a short mohawk. Naruto spotted Kidomaru sitting with a red-haired girl and sat down beside them. Ah, hey there Yuto. The boy stared. He was staring at the now white-haired boy with a questioning look. Naruto smirked and scratched his neck. Orochimaru-sensei said that my blonde hair would stand out too much, so he changed it, the white-haired boy explained. The fight between the two at the front was over with the large boy winded and bruised. Kimimaro didn't have a scratch. The large boy limped off to sit with another boy who had a puppet or something latched to his back. It was freaky in Naruto's opinion. Kimimaro looked over his class and sighed. I suppose you're the new student. Orochimaru-sama always gives me the weak trash to deal with. The teenager sighed. Naruto gritted his teeth and stood up, pointing at the man. Hey, I am Uzu, Tarajiku Naruto, and I will be a strong ninja with or without your help. I'll kick your right now, you sissy, he exclaimed. The red-haired girl sitting beside blinked before she broke out into hysterics. Kidomaru just buried his head in his hands with a definite, I do not know this idiot, sigh. Why you beat Kimimaro-sensei? The girl sputtered out between giggles. Yeah, right, he would kill you in a second. Hell, I could kick your with just my feet, shrimp. She said. Oh yeah, come on then, let's see what you can do to me. Naruto said as he faced his new opponent. The girl smirked and looked over at her teacher. Kimimaro sighed and nodded. The redhead whipped out a wooden flute and bounded onto the stage. Well, Tiny, get up here so I can kick her, she yelled. The white-haired boy tossed off his cloak, revealing the white robes he had on under them. He armed himself with a kunai and faced off against her. The two glared at each other before Kimimaro coughed. Okay, you two, get ready, and fight. The redhead twirled her flute like a baton and rushed at the boy who countered with his weapon. Kunai against flute, the two were in a deadlock. With their free hands, they launched punches at each other. The girl caught Naruto in his jaw while he got her with a chop to the neck. The foul-mouthed girl noticed that the deadlock wasn't going to be broken by just taijutsu, not that the brawl they were having involved any skill whatsoever, so she leapt back to put some distance in between her and the white-headed boy. Quickly doing hand seals, she finished a jutsu before Naruto could get to her. Ori Genkaku no Jutsu, the redhead cried. Naruto braced himself for whatever she was throwing at him. He soon realized something was wrong when an iron cage suddenly appeared, trapping him inside. Ha! That should teach you to mess with your betters. Shame that you hit me, you almost scratched my pretty face. If that were to happen I would really have to kick her scrawny, she said, cupping her own cheek, smiling. Naruto scoffed while trying to pry the bars open. Pretty? What kinda guy calls himself pretty? Naruto teased. Just gotta keep her busy until I find a way out of this thing. The girl colored a bit before fuming at her white-haired opponent. I'm a girl, you bastard, she yelled. Naruto snickered at the successfulness of his barb. He looked at his bars again, they seemed to fade a bit when he made her mad. One of the other kids say something that caught both combatants' attention. Oh, she lost concentration for a moment there. She better get her anger under control or she won't be able to hold the illusion, he said. Shut up, you prick, she yelled at him. Naruto again saw the bars waver and then it hit him. Genjutsu. So, she has to keep concentration on the illusion or it will fall, huh? He then whistled at the girl, getting her attention. Hey, are you sure you're a girl? I mean, from what I can see of your figure in that robe, I can't tell. Naruto taunted. The girl was grinding her teeth so hard Naruto was sure he saw one of them chip. The howling laughter from all the children present wasn't doing much for her concentration either. Why you bastard. I'll rip out your spine through your mouth and beat you with it. She yelled as she pulled out her flute once again and rushed the boy, the genjutsu failing as she did so. Got you, Naruto declared mentally. He stared drawing chakra to his hands to start hand seals for a jutsu he saw Kabuto use when another pull caught his attention. The hollow part in his arms was drawing small doses of chakra to it. This must be the air cannon. Naruto pumped a large amount of chakra into the hollow and raised his hands up at the girl. She stopped confused at this action until the air around her started to push on her body. With a visible pulse, air radiated out from the stones in Naruto's arms and slammed into the girl, sending her flying back into the dojo's wall. Exhausted, Naruto fell to his knees. The rest of the students looked on in awe while Kimimaro checked on the girl. So, he used the Zankuaha, not too bad for a rookie, he said as the girl picked herself off the floor. She shook the after effects of the blast out of her head, then turned to glare at the boy. You didn't tell me he had an air cannon, Kimimaro, she accused. Well, you didn't bother to ask, he retorted. The weird boy with the puppet on his back giggled. Ha, he kicked your Tayuya, the boy said through his chuckles. Shut up, Sakin, he got lucky, that's it, Tayuya defended. Kidomaru helped his white-haired friend off the ground with two of his arms while the rest were crossed across his chest. Hardly luck, you just got too mad. He was caught in that genjutsu until you let him get under your skin. Good strategy on his part, the boy said. Naruto smiled and stuck out his tongue at the redhead. She was about to launch herself at him when Kimimaro stepped between them. That's enough. We do have a class to get through today, you know. All of you take your seats and we'll start. He then turned to Naruto, who had since sat down beside Kidomaru. I'll teach you all about the air cannon when you all sit down. The girl grumbled and took a seat opposite of the spider boy, all the while shooting glares at the white-haired boy who returned them with equal vigor. Guess this is as good as those two will get. Okay, the air cannon is a special weapon that focuses chakra into a special organ inside the user's arm. Those two little jewels on Naruto's palms are what lets the air pressure escape into what is known as the Zankuna, which is the special attack of the air cannon. You felt a pull, right? That was the organ drawing chakra from your body to convert into air pressure. Naruto nodded. He now had a fundamental understanding of his new weapon and he couldn't be more happy if the grin on his face was any indication. He missed the murmur of, "It's not so great," coming from the redhead on his far right. It was a good day. Naruto and the others had spent the rest of the class learning about history and combat practice. He found his new classmates much more interesting than he had originally thought. As it turned out, his friend Kidomaru turned out to be a crack shot at throwing weapons. He could hit a target over 20 meters away with the flick of his wrist. The big guy who was sparring with the teacher was named Jirobu and he had to be the strongest guy Naruto had ever met. He could easily lift 50 pounds over his head while Naruto could only hold 20. The guy who Naruto thought had a puppet turned out to be something very weird. That puppet was actually the boy's twin brother, and it was a special bloodline that allowed them to share the same body. Other than that, they were both really good with taijutsu and could hit a target almost as well as Kidomaru with a kunai. Even the foul-mouthed redhead was more than Naruto thought she would be. She already knew a few genjutsus and could use that flute of hers like a club, wielding it with a finesse that was truly something to watch. Naruto still didn't know how she did that twirling thing. He had practiced with his air cannons until he could use several small zenkunas before he would have to rest. Kimimaro-sensei said that sound and wind jutsus would come easier because of his experience and had started teaching him a wind jutsu. He was still a good bit behind the rest of the kids and he knew it. They could do incredible things without help and he had to rely on his air cannon to do anything that could even touch them. His fight with Tayuya had shown him that. "Hey, Naruto, are you awake?" came the voice of Kidomaru. Naruto sat quiet for a moment to make sure an angry Tayuya wouldn't crack him with her flute. When he was sure she was asleep, he answered back quietly. "Yeah." The white-haired boy whispered back. "Why did you leave Konoha?" This caught Naruto off guard. He thought for a moment before answering. "Because the people there hate me. Kabuto-san said that if I came here, I could get stronger. It's my dream to be a strong ninja," he said quietly. "Is that it? Just be a strong ninja?" the spider boy asked back. "Well, I guess. Never really thought past that. How about you?" Naruto asked. "My clan was destroyed. We lived in Mist Country but a rival clan feared our power and slaughtered my whole family in a clan war." Quote. Naruto sat quietly listening to the story. "I want to see that other clan burn. I want to see my house restored, that's why I'm here. I think it's more or less the story of us all. Orochimaru-sama took us all in and offered us training. One day, we'll find somewhere to fit in, but, your story reminds me of Tayuya. She doesn't know about her clan at all. The village where she grew up kicked her out when she was little and she found her way here. I don't know much more than that, she won't say much but she's had a hard time." Naruto sat there taking this all in. "You guys, shut up and go to sleep," came a female voice from across the room. They all sat there for a moment before Naruto decided to break the tension. "Why are you in here with the guys again? Shouldn't girls be, like, with other girls?" Naruto asked, grinning. "I'm fine right here, shrimp, just don't try anything while I'm asleep or I'll stomp your," came the gruff reply. "Ha, like any sane guy would want to try anything with a foul-mouthed tomboy like you, especially since they can't tell if you're a girl." Kimimaro sighed. He knew all too well what was about to happen. "You bastard!" she screamed. Suddenly World War III was declared in the boarding room. Sounds of air blasts and cursing that would make a sailor blush filled the massive complex, shaking the trees down to their roots, all the while a certain white-haired kid was laughing as a redhead chased him around yelling bloody death, and he couldn't be happier. And so the months dragged on. Reports from Kabuto stated that Naruto had been declared dead after an exhausting search led by Yumi no Iruka. It was suspected that one of the villagers had killed the demon vessel, much to the collective happiness of the town. The day he was officially declared dead had been one of an undeclared holiday in Konoha. Back in the Snake's Den, the official name of Orochimaru's lair, it was a certain white-haired ninja's birthday. While Orochimaru wasn't one for celebration, he would give everyone a special request on that day. He was a softie for birthdays. Most asked for special jutsu or something else they could never learn by themselves, while others asked for a day off to mess around in the nearby towns. Naruto had something very special in mind after he walked into Orochimaru's office. The snake Sanin himself was doing the usual official evil paperwork when he motioned for the boy to come forward. "Ah, Naruto-kun, it's that time of year already?" he asked, snaking his eyes up from the sheet of paper he was holding. "Hi, Orochimaru-sama, I've put a lot of thought into it, and I know exactly what I want." Naruto smiled. "And that would be?" the Sanin asked. "A mission. My friends and I have been training all the time and I wanna do something with that training. Anything will do, just something to get us out of this base," the boy exclaimed. Orochimaru thought this over. It was true, Naruto and his classmates were some of the strongest students in the base and most students did missions for the local town. "Okay, I'll come up with something by the end of the week for you and your class. It won't be much, but it will let you stretch your legs outside for a bit." He chuckled as the boy jumped up and down, ecstatic at the prospect. And here, take this as well. The Sanin said as he tossed a letter at the boy. Give that to the man in front of the storehouse. White may be good to practice in, but you need proper clothing to go out on a mission. You can pick what you want, just make sure you get a mask. You can't have anyone recognize you from Konoha just because you don't think they are around. Hi. The boy bowed and the Sanin waved him off. Once he was gone, the man let out a breath. I'm glad he only wanted a mission. I thought for sure he was going to ask me to teach him some crazy jutsu. Orochimaru laughed when he heard the boy curse loudly as the fact he could have asked for that dawned on him. Kukuku. Now, back to more paperwork. Karma was not kind to Orochimaru as a ninja brought in twice as much paperwork as he just had. As he watched the pile grow higher and higher, his eye twitched. I wonder how many sacrifices Mando would make me give him to eat all this work. After going through the entire storehouse, the white-haired Jinchuriki made his way back to his barrack. He had settled for simple black pants, dark purple shirt, and red shirt with a purple vest for style. The most unique thing he had picked up was an old Hunter Nin mask that had a fox face. The white mask with red lines for whiskers had a long nose and ears that was topped off by white hair. Naruto wondered if anyone would recognize him. Hey, shrimp! Came a voice from behind. The boy whirled around to see a smirking Tayuya staring at him. What? No way, I wouldn't know it was you. I could recognize that freak hair of yours anywhere. Naruto sighed and took off the mask. Yeah, just like anyone could recognize your masculine build, Naruto taunted as he dodged a flute aimed at his head. After a few curses from both sides, the two called a unspoken truce and settled down. So, what's with the mask? Not that I'm complaining, anything that hides that face of yours is fine in my book. Tayuya said with a smirk. Naruto waved off the insult and rubbed his head where her flute had hit him in their last war. Hey, I got us a mission, he declared triumphantly. Tayuya stood there confused. You mean, I got myself a mission, right? She asked with a hint of jealousy. If it was possible, his smile got even wider. Nope, Orochimaru-sama said our whole class can go on a mission by the end of the week. Think the others will like it? He asked. She just stood there trying to figure out the white-haired boy in front of her. Yeah, if they don't, I'll kick their asses, she declared, happy that she was finally going to get out of the village. Hell yeah, you go tell them, I've gotta go put away my new clothes, Naruto said as he ran off. She stood there for a few moments before heading off herself. Interesting guy. True to his word, Orochimaru gave the class a mission that would be the equivalent of C-class mission if it was from a hidden village. They set out for the town with Kimimaro in the lead. Most were wearing a better set of white robes except for Naruto, who was wearing his dark ensemble, complete with fox mask. Their mission was to eliminate a group of bandits that had taken up residence outside the town of Kosame. After the initial reconnaissance, the group stopped about a mile from the bandits' hideout to make a plan. They're just a bunch of bandits. Let's just run in there and kill them, said Tayuya. She and Naruto had been advocating this approach from the beginning, while Kidomaru and Sakin had been for a drawn-out plan to lure some out of the camp and deal with them individually. Jirobu elected not to take sides. Tayuya's right, we can take them no problem. Between her genjutsu and my air cannon, we could clear the mission ourselves, the fox-masked boy boasted. Damn straight. Those pricks can't even set up a decent trap, they won't be too much trouble, the redhead said, caught up in her companion's confidence. No way. The report says their leader is a Chunin missing nin. We can't underestimate them just because we think we're better. Something could always go wrong. Kidomaru countered. Sakin nodded in agreement. It was about to become a shouting match until Kimimaro decided to step in. Look, if you think you can take them all by yourselves, then go do it. The rest of us will stay here, he said in a calm voice. Kidomaru was about to speak up when he caught a glare from the older teenager. Fine. Tayuya said as she headed off. Naruto looked between the direction she had gone and the group once, then took off after her. Why did you let them do that? They could really get hurt. Kidomaru shouted. Kimimaro shook his head. It's their problem if they overestimate themselves. Weaklings are useless to Orochimaru-sama. I don't think they'll have a problem though. If they do, we'll step in. Kimimaro stated as he leapt off, slowly following Tayuya and Naruto. He had orders from Orochimaru to not let the boy come to harm, but he wasn't about to coddle the kid. The remaining three looked at each other and collectively sighed before they took off as well. Dumb bastards, they think they're so clever, ha. I could beat any one of them in a fight. The redhead exclaimed to no one in particular. She felt a chakra source following her and looked back. Leaping from tree to tree behind her was the fox-masked boy. At least one of them has some balls. Only a few hundred meters from the bandit camp, the two stopped to review their attack. Okay, it doesn't look like they are expecting anything, Naruto said as he looked over the camp's defenses. A few swordsmen were milling around the tents, not many looking fit for combat. I say we each take a side of the camp and meet in the middle, taking out everyone we come across. We'll take their boss together. Why do I have to work with you again? Sounds good though, I'll take the left side. You start your run when I let off a smoke bomb, got it? The girl asked. Yeah, sure, I'm off then. The white-hired boy said as he started his run on the camp. The girl sighed and headed off to the opposite side. Unknown to them both, several sets of eyes and ears had eavesdropped on their conversation. Not a bad plan, she isn't as dense as I thought, said Sakin as he leaned back against a tree. I don't know, maybe we should have helped them. Like Kidomaru said, they might run into something, the large boy said in a worried voice. Don't worry about it, I've got them covered whether they like it or not, the spider boy said as he started to form a weapon out of spider silk. The stoic Kimimaro only grunted. Damn it, that girl is slow as Choji used to be, a aggravated Naruto said to himself. He suddenly shot his eyes over to a plum of smoke coming from the opposite side of the camp. It's about damn time, he said as he rushed into the camp to begin his attack. Phantomusuchi no Jutsu, Tayuya cried. Several bandits began clawing at the air around them as the effects of the genjutsu set in. She ended their lives instantly with the flick of two kunai knives. She began her assault and caught the bandits completely off guard, most just waking up from a night of drinking. Smiling to herself, she dispatched two more with her battle flute, crushing their windpipes with the instrument. She kicked a burning log from a campfire into a group of tents and continued on, fire erupting behind her. Man, there is more weak trash in this camp than I thought, the masked boy said as he floored another samurai wannabe. Several more tried to surround him but stepped back when he started doing hand seals. Futon. Datapa. Wind whipped up around the boy and washed over the surrounding swordsmen before they could react. It pulsed and knocked them all over under its force. They were easily dispatched by kunai once they were off their feet. Naruto looked around and saw several men gathering around a large tent near the center of the camp, some of them moving to intercept something coming from the left. Ha! Can't let her have all the fun, now can I? The masked boy said as he rushed off towards the group, charging up chakra as he ran. Damn bye, cried a swordsman before he found his insult cut off by a kunai in his throat. The fiery redhead was making good time as she cut through the ranks of fodder wielding her flute and kunai. She was sporting several injuries and her ankle was acting up, but she was in more or less good shape. She was headed for what she assumed was the leader's tent when she caught sight of a dozen or so samurai bearing down on her. Okay, these pricks are really asking for it, she thought as she started forming hand seals. Zenkuaha. The group of swordsmen were tossed several feet away and crashed harshly on the ground. The masked boy was standing with hands outstretched as he searched for a new target. She could feel the chakra gathering for another attack, this one aimed at the leader's tent. No you don't. He's mine. Tayuya grabbed a explosive tag and fixed it to her kunai. She aimed it at the tent and tossed it before the boy could steal her kill. Damn it! He cried and ran for cover, flying through the air as the tent exploded behind him, sending him sailing into a nearby tent. Ha! Got the bastard. How's that, Naruto? Tayuya asked as she surveyed her work. Total destruction is what came to her mind as she saw the smoldering crater that had been the command tent. I guess I'll get the biggest reward for this one. I'm sure you did good in your own way though, she said as she walked over to the downed boy. Shut up. Tay, get down. The girl didn't have time to react as Naruto dove at her. As the two fell, the sweep of a spear was felt passing over them. Above them, a man with a hidden stone Hittite glared down at them. Kawarimi no Jutsu, it works like a dream, the man said as he raised his spear, intending to impale them both. Just as he was bringing it down, a white arrow shot through his chest, making it explode in a shower of red. What? Naruto stuttered, still holding onto the redhead. Kidumaru. Tayuya said. You called. You have no idea how lucky you two are that I just happened along. Came a voice from behind the two. They both looked up from the ground to see a panting Kidumaru holding a bow made out of his chakra spider thread. Next time, maybe you'll listen to me, he added, smiling. Oh well, looks like he gets the bounty, the masked boy said from his position. My, aren't you two comfy, snickered Sakin as he appeared behind a blushing Kidumaru. There is a time and place for that sort of thing, you know. The two looked at how they hear. Tayuya was still holding onto Naruto's waist and he had his arm draped over her shoulder. They both seemed to realize this at the same time and scurried along the ground away from each other faster than either boy could see. You bastard pervert. What the hell was that? The red-headed, and red-faced, girl exclaimed. What? I saved your life, you should be thankful, you hateful witch. Sakin and Kidumaru both slapped their foreheads at the shouting match going on. They both decided that helping pick off the remaining bandits was better than listening to the two and took off, not that any amount of distance could drown out the cursing match that was ensuing. A white flash flies through the forest. It moves with cold purpose as it stalks its prey. The hunted is oblivious to the peril that it now finds itself in. The hunter takes a cold look at the man before drawing his weapon. Silently, he creeps down from his leafy perch focused on the kill. He moves with grace, cleanly slicing though his intended target's neck with his weapon, his face set in a cold white mask. The sound of kunai impacting on a wood is the only thing that the masked hunter is rewarded with, however, as another figure leaps away in the trees at a frantic pace that the hunter failed to notice. Damn it, Kawarimi no Jutsu, I really hate that jutsu, the masked boy mumbled. He looked around for his prey only to find he had already fled. Hey, idiot, did you complete the objective yet? Came a familiar female voice. The hunter sighed and answered back into his headset. No, the prick used a kawarimi on me and ran, he said as he hurriedly moved the headset away from his ears, knowing what was coming. You idiot bastard. Do you have any idea what you've done? Go after him before he tells the entire Thunder Country we're here. The voice screamed. The hunter could hear several other voices in the background telling her to quiet down. Once he was reasonably sure she was done ranting, he put back on the headset and took to the trees. Don't worry about it. No way he knows where I'm from. I'm wearing my mask, remember? He'll just head to the village and assume I was some random bandit or missing nin looking for a quick buck. He'll stay there where he thinks he'll be safe, the boy said as he dashed through the trees. Won't he though? Was the confused response he got from the other side of the line. Hey, no one is safe if they betray Orochimaru-sama. Wait for me outside the village, I'll be back tomorrow morning. What the hell do you mean, tomorrow morn? The transmission was cut short as the boy turned off his headset. So loud, he mumbled before heading towards the hidden cloud and his target. Flashback. So, our mission is to kill some guy named Kainashi. One half of the set of twins asked. The entire group was on the road all disguised under a henge. They had left the snake's den several nights beforehand and were heading to the hidden village of the cloud. Kimimaro had gotten the mission straight from Orochimaru and had only given the students a few hours before they left the den to start their mission. It was a Class A, something that Kimimaro said was above his students, but the Snake Sanin had insisted on it. Now that they were less than a day from their objective, he was having each review the plan before things got hectic. Yes. Our objective is to assassinate a former spy of Lord Orochimaru-sama. Kimimaro answered. Yes. Kainashi was one of our spies in Hidden Cloud. It seems that he has his own ideas and has severed all ties with our group. We can no longer overlook this as he is a potential security risk. Kimimaro replied. So, what's the plan? I don't want to run into another mission without a plan. You bastards almost get me killed every time I go on a mission with you, the redhead sneered. Kidomaru rolled his eyes. That whole bandit thing happened over a year ago. You didn't get hurt, so what's the problem? If I remember correctly, you were the one who ran into the middle of their camp without a plan, the young multi-armed boy said. The girl turned and glared at him. I was talking about the mission last month when the dumb bastard, she pointed to a glaring Naruto, decided to break the mission objective and clean out the house. We were only supposed to kill the clan head and leave. You almost got us caught by the guards when you decided to poke around the house's library looking for their jutsu scrolls, she huffed. Said, dumb bastard, scoffed and calmly flashed the redhead a not too friendly gesture that sent her seething. Hey, I didn't get caught, did I? Besides, they knew some good jutsus and I did share them with you. You're so ungrateful, he snarled. The two were on the verge of coming to blows when they felt several killing intents being directed in their direction. You mean to tell us that you two managed to get the scroll? Were you planning on sharing it with the rest of us or just hoarding all the secrets to yourselves? Said an irate Sakin. Kidomaru was also glaring at the pair and even Jirobu looked annoyed. Kimimaro just rolled his eyes and continued on. Now guys, they weren't all that great. Really? You wouldn't have liked them, right Tayuya? The white-haired boy poked her in the side, willing her to answer with his eyes. Yeah, I wouldn't be caught dead doing any of them. She added, trying to stay clear of suspicion. It didn't work. Luckily, before the two thieves could get the beat down of their lives, Kimimaro spoke up. Alright, we're here. He had led the group to the outskirts of Thunder Country so as to avoid the border patrols. Now, the plan is for one of us to sneak in and deal with him. The target is on patrol today, so we shouldn't have too much trouble. Naruto, he turned to the boy, you will go into Thunder Country and ambush him. Tayuya will be your operations manager over the headset, he said as he tossed a pair of headsets to the two pre-teens. Why the hell do I have to stay behind? Yelled the redhead. No way in hell I'm going to be left behind while this dumb bastard gets all the credit. Tayuya, Naruto's sound-reducing jutsus are perfect for this assassination. The rest of us will be sitting this one out, so you should be thankful you even have a part in the mission, the older boy said without emotion. The redhead gritted her teeth but snorted and put on the headset. Naruto snickered for a bit, but also donned the tech headgear before putting his fox mask on over it. Alright, here's a picture of him, the older boy said as he handed Naruto a worn photo. Now, let's take care of this quickly so we can report back. Orochimaru-sama is planning a large operation soon, so we can't waste manpower here, understood? The white-haired boy nodded before leaping off through the trees to stalk his prey. End flashback. The young boy made his way closer and closer to the border of Hidden Cloud. The patrols were lax for a ninja village and the guards weren't even ninja. The boy put on a henge in the disguise of an elderly ramen peddler and was waved through the gate. Once inside, he dropped the illusion and tailed his soon-to-be dead mark. No way he was going to let him get away again. Later. A masked figure crawled up the wall to the second story of Hidden Cloud's barracks. A calm, collected demeanor was what was projected through his masked eyes as the shinobi crouched just inside a window. He was wearing a hunter nin mask that was in a definite canine shape as a stray bolt of lightning illuminated his face. He crept into the room, kunai drawn as he looked at his surrounding. He was in a storeroom of some sort, far away from his objective. He took to the halls of the building, dodging patrols and random ninja as they roamed the halls. The ninja continued to search until he found the door he was looking for. Picking the lock, he slipped inside. It was dark except for the random flashes of lighting that illuminated the room through the window. Asleep on a bed in the corner was what he had come for. Reaching his kunai, he crept towards the bed and the sleeping figure thereon. He was about to end the man's existence and his mission when he felt another presence in the room. He whirled around and came face to face with a short white-haired ninja wearing a fox mask. He regarded this newcomer and stole a look back at the man sleeping on the bed before turning back to the other ninja. "Well, this is a first," the dog-masked ninja whispered. "What the hell? Damn it. I'm here to kill that guy, so don't get in my way, got it?" The fox-masked ninja hissed. He held his kunai ready to strike. The other ninja chuckled slightly as he lowered his weapon. "Seems we both want the same thing, doesn't it? I thought I was the only Konoha mission on this mission. Where is your Anbu team meeting?" The dog-masked man asked. The smaller ninja stiffened at the mention of Konoha. Outside the village. We just took this job last minute, but I really just want to get this over with," the fox-masked ninja lied. He put away his kunai and slinked back to the door. "I'll watch for guards, you finish up." The dog-masked ninja shrugged before heading back over to the bed. He took one look back at the other ninja before slitting the man's throat with surgical precision. The sleeping occupant let out a gurgling sound as his sheets were stained red. "Good. I'm out of here then, thanks," the fox-masked ninja said before heading over to the window, his method of escape. He didn't get far before he felt the tip of a kunai on the back of his neck. "Who are you and why do you have a Konoha Anbu mask?" the man said in a lazy tone. "I know you're not Anbu since you let your guard down, and I also know that no other teams were dispatched on this mission." The other ninja made to reach for his kunai pouch when the dog-masked man pushed his kunai into his captive's neck, drawing blood. "I asked you a question. If you don't answer me, I'll just kill you." "Well, I don't think you'll have to deal with me much longer," the fox-masked ninja said as he drew back up his hand, pointing the palm towards the other ninja. The dog-masked ninja blinked his eye under his Anbu mask at the action and didn't think much of it until a small red stone shone in the darkness. "What are you?" the man started. "Zenkuaha," the fox-masked ninja yelled. The other ninja was tossed back against the wall of the room as the windows exploded from the air pressure. Blood trickled from his mouth as heard several shouts come from the hall outside the room. The fox-masked ninja had already leapt through the window and was making his escape. "Damn it!" the dog-masked man hissed before he ran after the other ninja. The fox-masked ninja was fast, but stupid. He ran in a straight line away from the building and out of the village, barely dodging a patrol. The dog-masked man followed him until he stopped in a clearing. He seemed to be talking to himself when he noticed the headset. "Damn. He has reinforcements. I have to get my answers now before they arrive." The man leapt down from his perch and faced the other ninja. They both stared at each other for a moment before the shorter ninja pulled off the headset and crushed it. "Ah, that was so I couldn't trace who was on the other end of that call, the dog-masked ninja stated. He lazily leaned against a tree, sizing the fox-masked ninja up. "What the hell do you want? Your mission is over, right? Leave me alone or I'll make you pay," the fox-masked ninja shouted. The other man mentally rolled his eyes. Way too loud for a ninja, definitely not very experienced. "Look, you have a Konoha Anbu mask, at the very least you have some connection to the village, so you're going to give me answers. Understand?" the dog-masked ninja said. He sighed when the boy started to form hand seals and pulled a kunai out to stop the brash ninja. "Geki Haoshi no Jutsu," the other ninja yelled. The air around the dog-masked ninja seemed to get heavier and he was finding it hard to breathe as his lungs started to burn from the pressure being exerted on them. "Damn, I should have used the Sharingan right from the start." The man pulled off his mask to reveal his gray hair face. His face was obscured by the night, but the fox-masked boy could make out another half-mask that covered most of his face. A Konoha Hittite was over his left eye until the man pulled it up. The fox ninja was shocked as the man's eye glowed red and the jutsu being used on him broke down. Damn it! What the hell did you do? Seeing that the man wasn't going to give him an answer, he started to gather chakra. That's fine, let's see if you can stop this. Zenkuaha! The boy shouted as a high-power air blast shot out of his palm at the other masked ninja. As the dust cleared, the young ninja saw the effects of his attack. A large trench extended from his outstretched palm to where the masked man was. There was no sign of his opponent. The boy lowered his hand and released a breath he didn't even know he was holding. Ha! That got you, the ninja muttered between breaths. Just as he was about to head off to where his companions were, a hand shot out of the ground and grabbed his leg. What the foo? Ah! The ninja yelped as he was suddenly buried up to his head in the ground, a man chuckling off to his side. Such colorful language for a ninja, You must not be very experienced to fall for that trick. It's just a chunin level jutsu. Now, let's try this one more time. Who are you and why do you have that mask? The man asked as he covered his eye. When the boy stayed quiet, the man sighed and walked over to the head poking up from the earth. Well, let's just see what you look like then, he said as he reached down and pulled off the ninja's fox mask. The face that was behind the mask surprised the man. Looking up at him with a glare that could kill demon was a white-haired, blue-eyed boy no more than 9 years old. The man blinked his visible eye. A kid this young made me use the Sharingan. Amazing, he was brought out of his musing by a surge of killing intent being directed at him. He looked around and saw the forest changing and warping before his eye. Genjutsu, he uncovered his Sharingan once again and saw through the jutsu. Several figures were watching him from the trees, one of them still holding her hands in a seal. A man turned to her and spoke for a moment before the girl dropped the jutsu. He then leapt out into the clearing in the forest and met the masked man's gaze. You have one of my students. The white-haired man deadpanned. He was dressed in simple white robes with no visible weapons but gave off the air of danger. The masked ninja just looked back at the man with his lazy eye and shrugged. Seems I do. This kid had a Konoha Anbu mask on and I'd be very interested to know how he got it. It's an international incident if you guys killed one of our men. The masked ninja replied. You are the famous copy nin, Hitaki Kakashi, are you not? You cannot beat me, I strongly suggest you leave. Kimimaro said as he moved closer to the two. The masked ninja, Kakashi, looked at the teenager with surprise. Now how would you know that? Since you know so much, I really can't let you guys go now. Kakashi said as he pulled another kunai. Just as the two were about to jump at each other's throats, a white arrow flew by Kakashi's head. A boy with several arms leapt into view setting up another arrow. Now, Naruto, he shouted. Kakashi then realized his mistake. He had taken his eyes off of boy at his feet. He looked down to see a hand pointed up at him, a red stone was pulsing in its palm. Zenkuaha. The copy nin was sent flying into the night air, his vest tearing in places. He hit a tree with a resounding thud when he descended to earth. The spider boy was quickly coming up to him with his bow armed. A quick bolt shot through the older man's chest, but all that was hit was a log. Kidomaru cursed as he restrung his bow only to find that Kakashi was nowhere in sight. I didn't need your help, you know, Naruto mumbled as Jirobu pulled him out of his earthy prison. Tayuya dropped from her treetop perch and cracked him on the back of his head with her flute. You prick. What the hell were you doing? You would be dead now if it wasn't for us coming to drag your worthless out of hidden cloud. She yelled. Kimimaro looked over the area and walked back to the boy. Was your mission a success? He asked in monotone. Tayuya shot him a glare for being interrupted and threw her arms up in a huff. Yeah, the target is lying in his bed with a slit throat. It was that Konoha ninja that did it though. I ran into him inside the barracks and I guess he followed me when I left. I didn't think he could survive a direct blast from my air cannon. Naruto said as he dusted himself off. So, what do we do now? We head back. Orochimaru-sama has other jobs for us to do and we can't dwell on this one loose end. He doesn't know much so don't worry, I'm sure he can't recognize you from your old village. Kimimaro said as he walked off. Tayuya glared at the boy one last time before she sighed and followed. Naruto was about to leave also when something orange caught his eye. He walked over to where Kakashi had landed after he was hit by the air cannon and picked up an orange book. Huh, guess that copy ninja guy dropped it. He thumbed through it before tossing it back into the forest with a flushed face. What the hell was that? Perverted Konoha ninja. Naruto slapped his face to get the blush out before heading off after his comrades, fox mask in hand. Later. Back in Konoha. So that's when I ran into the boy. I was in the room of the target when we had a confrontation. He was wearing a Konoha Anbu mask and he said he was with a team. I didn't buy it though and when confronted he attacked me. I think he had a blood limit because my Sharingan couldn't copy that air technique he used on me. I caught him in the forest surrounding Hidden Cloud and managed to subdue him. I took his mask off and saw his face. He had white hair, blue eyes, and odd markings on his cheeks. He couldn't have been more than 10 years old, either. He knew some pretty advanced techniques too. His group was just as strong as he was, especially their leader. Anyway, I let my guard down and the kid hit me with that air attack that got me pretty good as you can see. The mission was a success, so the Raikage doesn't have to worry about that spy anymore. I guess it's a mission complete. Kakashi said as he finished up his report. The third Hokage puffed his pipe behind his desk. The Raikage himself had asked that Konoha assassinate the spy in his village due to the fact he didn't know who in his forces he could trust. This development that another ninja team had been sent to kill him as well was disturbing to the aged Hokage. Very well, Kakashi. I suppose we will just have to watch this development more, he said as he shuffled through some files. Kakashi turned to walk out of the office when he hesitated. Hokage-sama, are you certain the Kyuubi vessel was killed? The man asked without turning around. The question caught the old man off guard. He thought for a moment before answering in a low voice. Yes, was the sad answer. Kakashi nodded before heading out of the office. Naruto, I'll have to watch out for him in the future. Now, back to Ika goodness. Kakashi smiled as he reached for his Ika pocket, and found a hole. His eye was twitching uncontrollably as he fumbled around his uniform for his precious book. I must have dropped it. Notha Snake's den was bristling with activity today. All the ninja under the Snake Sanin were called in from their various assignments from all over the world. Spies, assassins, scouts, even Kabuto was called back in for a while. An enormous operation was taking place, all the ninja knew it. After 3 years of mission experience, the newest generation of ninja was finally ready to be pushed into the spotlight. Kimimaro, Jirobu, Kidomaru, Sakin and Ukin, Tayuya and Naruto were all called into the throne room of Orochimaru for a mission briefing. They had all grown. Gone were the naive 7-year-olds that he had found clinging to the fringes of life, now they were his soldiers. Even though they were still children, they were all extremely powerful, all of them at Chunin level. They all stood in more or less the same clothing except for the spiky-haired boy standing beside Tayuya. He still wore his dark purple pants, red shirt, purple vest, and fox mask hanging at his waist. He no longer wore it all the time, only when he was on assassination missions. Orochimaru looked over them with something akin to pride. Kabuto stood off to the side with several high-level ninja. Ah, you're all here, excellent. The Snake Sanin began. I've asked you all to come so I could brief you on what is going to happen. Tomorrow we head for Rice Country to take over a city there. The group stiffened. It was the first time Orochimaru actively struck out against anyone directly. We are going to take the place over and found a new hidden village, the Hidden Village of Sound. You will all be participating in the fighting, though in what capacity you serve will be based on your answer to my next question. What's the point, Orochimaru-sama? You know none of us would back out of a fight. asked the white-haired boy as he scratched the back of his neck. Orochimaru cackled. Yes, yes, I know that, Naruto-kun. What I mean is, this will determine the rest of your lives. I can grant you something that would put you at the top of my forces should you choose to take it. It's something called a cursed seal, a forbidden jutsu. It will give you immense power. There is a slight risk to those that take the seal though, there would be a 1 in 10 chance you would die. Kukuku. The Sannin said. The group of pre-teens shivered at the laugh and their chances of success. Just how strong would this make us? I mean, we're pretty powerful now. Sakin added. Orochimaru nodded. Yes, you are all at least at low chunin level and that would improve over time, but with the seal, you'll each be at high chunin if not junin level. If you're not convinced, ask Kimimaro, he has the Gaia seal, so he would be a good person to talk to about the power and risk. The group looked over at their sensei with surprise. He calmly lowered his robe and pointed to a pinwheel mark on his chest. This is my cursed seal. It draws all of my chakra to the surface when I use it, although it will leave me drained afterwards. Level 1 isn't much of a problem and I can hold it for about half an hour. I can only go level 2 for 10 minuets. He then started to activate his seal. Black lines appeared on every visible part of his body. He was starting to look like a human jigsaw puzzle when they all felt the chakra. It was incredible. Now, that is the power you can all have. The question is, do you have the will not to die? The snake Sannin asked. One by one they all agreed to the curse seal, with Naruto agreeing first and Tayuya right behind him. Excellent. Now, just don't forget yourselves when you face your own personal demons, he said as his neck grew like a snake from his body. They were all held still by his killing intent that they could not move even if they wanted to. Naruto watched in horror as the Sannin bit the necks of each of his classmates, a strange mark appearing on them all. He locked eyes with his leader before giving into the pain as his own seal was bestowed on him. Where the heck am I? Naruto was floating in an endless sea of white. He looked around in either direction but could only see emptiness. Is this my mind? Correct. The voice caught Naruto off guard and he snapped his head to the direction it came from. There, floating with him was a little blonde-haired boy. He was no older than 5 or 6 but had an air of mystery around him. Who are you? What do you want from me? The older boy asked. He was slightly unnerved at the whole ordeal. What do you want for yourself, Naruto? The little boy asked. You seek power but do not have a purpose for using it. Why do you seek it if you have no goals or ambition? I don't know. It was the question he was asked 2 years ago by Kidomaru and he still didn't have an answer. I'm just happy being here with everyone, too. Be needed, the other boy finished. Naruto looked up at the boy with a bit of fear mixed with acknowledgement. It is good to be needed, Naruto, but one must also need. What do you need? What can you get from power? Recognition, respect. Isn't that what power is supposed to bring you? I want that. I need to have that in my life. Naruto shouted. The little boy was unfazed. He just continued to stare a hole into Naruto's soul. You may have that power. Do with it what you will. Before Naruto could argue with the boy, the whiteness was bleeding out of his vision and once again he found himself passing out. Yuto. Naruto. Can you hear me? A worried voice called out. The white-haired boy opened his eyes before wrenching them shut again. He had a massive headache and the loud redhead punching him in the side was not helping things. Damn it, Tayuya. Stop hitting me. Naruto groaned as he sat up. His hands went to his neck to scratch an itch and then he remembered why he had passed out in the first place. Hey, did the seal thing work? Is everyone okay? He asked. Tayuya smirked and pointed to a mark on her neck. You had doubts. Check it out, my own seal. She said proudly. Naruto looked around. They were in their dorms and he was lying on his bed. He looked over at the other beds and saw the rest of his class groaning. They looked like hell but they were alive. He looked up at the girl leaning over him. Well, do you feel any different? I mean, are you more powerful? He asked. She closed her eyes in thought then shook her head. Orochimaru-sama said to bring you all to him once you were awake. He'll tell us all about it, she answered. Well then, let's go. The pair turned to look over at the speaker. The rest of the class was sitting up on their beds looking at the two. Sakin chuckled to himself. Hey, Tayuya, you sure were over by Naruto for a while. We were starting to feel neglected over here, the boy snickered. His laughing only increased when the redhead went bright red to match her hair. Shut up. Damn prick, maybe I shush.